Okay, Carolyn got to leave halfway through. Okay, thanks for the message. All right, one more minute. Wait, one more minute. All right. Okay, welcome to this Plant Medicine People Trickster webinar. Um, Here's how we're going to start. Caroline, what are you doing here?
Meaning that why I took the webinar?
Sure.
Because I feel that Trickster is it's a very interesting archetype, and I feel that it, like as the name say it, it's quite tricky. So it's always good to know how they work, so we can have a better reading of how they present themselves, and also what's the message behind it, so we can see it like through like not necessarily the first level, but like see the variety of messages you can offer in different forms as well. It's like more decoding, be able to decode.
Okay. Sounds great. Chrissy, what are you doing here? Ah, yeah. We'll pause. How about,
Oh, I got it on.
there you go.
Can you
Okay.
hear me now? Sorry.
Yeah.
So, I have been through a few plant medicine ceremonies, and I know that when I was in it, that I felt that sort of energy that I had seen talked about in the presentation for the webinar and for the, I think you're doing something coming up on this, and it just interested me to learn more about it.
Great. Great, great, great. How about Rogelio? What are you doing here?
Hi, brother. I just jumped in the call, so I guess this is introductions and everything. I'm curious to actually deepen my relationship with the Trickster. I heard that you also, if I'm correct, that you work with mushrooms and the space. It's kind of like infused by the Trickster in mushrooms, and I'm currently studying a little bit of microdosing for myself. And yeah, just want to deepen my understanding of plant medicine mostly.
Okay. So let me ask this question. What rules did I just break? What are the rules for hosting a podcast?
I guess
For anybody. This is for anybody. Yeah, Rogelio.
introducing yourself.
Sure. Am I supposed to introduce myself first? Am I supposed to put people on the spot, start answering questions? No, I see Chrissy shaking her head. What's the rules? Who knows what the rules are when you come onto a space like this?
Well, I don't think there are any.
Ooh, that is untrue. Let me just talk a little bit about what some of the rules are and why I started things this way. The rule is I am the uh, rules. Let's go with rules and identities. I am the expert, right? I'm supposed to introduce myself, maybe talk a little about my expertise. Um, definitely not start this with, hey, what are you doing here? It's a little rude, right? So the reason I wanted to start this way is that Trickster is experiential. And what Trickster does is, at the very least, gets us to think about the unwritten rules, especially social rules that we are supposed to follow, along with the identities that are attached to those. Let me ask this next question. Let's see if you guys can answer this or have an idea. Why am I doing this? What are some of my, if you guys could think about, why might I be doing this webinar? And anybody want to raise their hand? Or Carol? Oh yeah, I know Carol.
Hi, again, Justin. Is
Hey,
it because you've been shafted by the trickster?
I have been shafted by the trickster.
Me too.
So I want to do this because I've been shafted by the trickster.
Well, I guess if you start learning about something or somebody, because it's an energy of some description, you get familiar with it, you understand it, so you can explain its nuances to other people. Because I'm here because I want to understand why it fucking lied to me.
Why the trickster lied to you?
Well, why medicine lies to me.
Why medicine lies? Ooh, that's a good
And I'm
question.
blaming the trickster.
Okay, the medicine
Oh.
lied to you and it's the trickster's fault.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, we're gonna cycle back to that.
Okay.
Uh, so I'm here, according to Carol, because I want to help people understand Trickster better. That's true. Anybody have any other? Carolyn?
But I would say to help us to use better, like to better use our discernment when it comes to the plant medicine.
Yeah, help people use more discernment. Yeah. Okay, we got more people coming in. Okay, why else might I be doing this?
Like understanding, working with Trickster or Eshu more so helps us understand ourselves or at least explore our own selves more.
Yeah. So I want to help people understand themselves more. Any other ideas?
I'd say there's deep medicine in relationship with the trickster. If you can begin to build a relationship, those energies, you can actually really deepen your understanding of medicine and the way that it's communicating to and through us.
Sure. So Valerie wrote, understanding the balance that is a trickster energy. Can you explain more, Valerie, what that means?
Yes, apologies. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
I'm in my vehicle, so I apologize if it's loud. But what I mean by the balance is I serve medicine in a couple of different types of ceremonies, and the trickster is ever present. In ceremonies, it often shows up well, it's sometimes in different people, different energies. I sometimes embody the trickster, and I've noticed that it is a great balancer in ceremony. You can't have the other side of that without that trickster energy present. And I think that's what I mean by the balance.
Okay. All that's great. How about for my motivations? Nobody mentioned that I'm trying to sell a course on PMP, trying to get you guys to buy it. Did anybody think about that? Some people thought, yeah, Carol's nodding her head. What might be a reason why you wouldn't say that over this Zoom call? Hey, Justin, you trying to sell something to us? Because you guys named all the stuff that's right. Those are all like noble things that are there.
Because that's part of the social contract.
What's the social contract?
You,
I didn't know you were selling a course though.
Ah, okay. All right. Yes, I have a course coming up, 6 weeks course on Trickster. And everything everybody said, totally right on. I can feel all that stuff. But I want to talk about this one. So, Carol, you nodded your head when I said, oh, yeah, I'm trying to sell a course. Is that a part of it? But nobody said anything. Why wouldn't people say that?
I think people are being polite.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why are people being polite?
Well, I mean, I don't know if everyone's like me, but finances is an issue at the minute. This is free. So go and find out about it and see if it's worth investing on the credit card again.
So everybody's thinking if you know the course is coming, you
Well,
maybe
that's
want to test me
I'm
out.
talking for me, not everyone else.
Right. So some people may say, hey, I want to do this course. Let me check this guy out and see what's going on here. But that wasn't quite my question. When I asked, why might I be doing this course? Everybody named the noble, beautiful reasons, which are true, but not the selfish reasons. That I'm trying to sell something.
Because I feel that like if I would have said this at the beginning, like it was like it would be depicting you and giving you attention that you might not have, or it would like I will be somewhat judging you, or I don't know, like project an image on you that is not necessarily like project like an image, but also intentions that are not necessarily your own.
True. The thing about the social contract that Jillian said, especially in spaces like this, when nobody knows each other, is there's a rule around naming selfless reasons, naming selfless behaviors or motivations. This social contract comes out of a Christian paradigm. We are all operating within a Christian worldview, even if you're not a Christian. In the Christian worldview, selfless behaviors are great, are noble, are beautiful. Self-interested ones are not. And a part of this social contract around what we're allowed to say or what not is based on this. And it's also based on maybe thinking things about people, keeping them stuff down, or until they unleash and explode. And a part of the reason I wanted to set up this Trickster thing like this was to explore the different ways in which Trickster shows up. And in this particular way that I'm talking about, Trickster is a part of just about every animist, and I hope you guys know what animist means, animist tradition all over the world. And what happened is when Christian ideology met Trickster, whether it was Eshu from Africa, or Loki in the Norse tradition, or Coyote, or any of these other places where the Trickster was in between and poking at things and laughing at our hang-ups and all of this, the Christian ideology turned Trickster into the devil and started to fracture us and separate us off and help us develop a projection to the world. It's good. This is my good side. This is my bad side. And through that fracturing, the integration or the interweaving of our selfish and selfless, of our good and bad, of these multiple parts is Trickster's domain. Not only that, but how those internal parts then get recreated out in the world, whether at our jobs or at webinars or within plant medicine ceremonies. Anybody have any thoughts, questions, or feelings about any of that? Okay, let's segue over to here. Caroline, when I called on you, how did you feel?
I don't really like to be put on the spot, and to be honest, I thought that it was a little bit rude and disorganized way of starting. So,
Yeah.
because I already registered to your class, and for a moment, like I said, am I doing the right thing?
I almost lost a customer. Okay. Why did you, what about it was uncomfortable?
But the starting was very abrupt, and there was no introduction, and the question was kind of not very clear and like very direct and like almost aggressive. So I felt that like I was the one who has to start the webinar when it was like I was just there to listen. So I just felt that things were not necessarily in the proper order.
Right. Things were not in the proper order and I was uncomfortable. These are hallmarks of Trickster. These are hallmarks. This isn't going the way I expected. This isn't going the way it's supposed to go. And I'm uncomfortable. Okay. Who else? Rogelio. What did you think when I called on you?
I didn't think that you were calling on me. I think that
Oh,
you, like, if I have to be honest, I think that there were two possibilities. Either I was not very like either I missed part of the presentation, or you weren't very skilled in the introduction.
so confusion, or I was
So that's kind of
unskilled,
like,
right? Let me ask you this. When I called on any of you, did you feel like you had to answer? Yeah. Why did you have to?
Because like
I
you,
think I believe in the sorry.
no, go ahead.
I think I believe in the co-creation of the space. Like if I join into the space in an active way, and this is also only my part, like I do believe that there's a possibility to participate in the creation of the space by posing questions, by reflecting, by mirroring, by like having questions or obstacles or whatever. So I try to partake as a way of being part of the experience as well. I didn't have a like a lot of a thing around it.
Okay. You wanted to co-create. Caroline, you were talking?
Yeah, like for me, I feel that it's more like a boundary thing in the sense that I was not necessarily I was taken by surprise, so I was like I just went with it. And at the same time, I felt that I would have been rude myself, like just to say I don't want to answer this question. Like even though like it was like I was not like genuinely uncomfortable because like a little bit like Rogelio, like you there to go like to participate to something. But I wouldn't have like even if I was more comfortable, I don't think I would have said I didn't want to because like I guess it's a part of the conditioning or the way I react like naturally to things.
Yeah. So this is another reason, or this is another part of trickster medicine, which is when the unexpected happens and we're thrown off, there's a question of what we're doing and why. And the question becomes, am I doing this because I'm supposed to? Because somebody in a position of authority said, this is what you're supposed to do now? Am I doing this more like Rogelio said, which is, hey, let's co-create. I'll explore this. And within these little micro interactions, Trickster is there. Trickster is there, and it seems like it's in this outer place of this place that we're asking, or this place we're talking about in this conversation. But what he's doing is he's showing us how to, if we can take this outer thing and bring it inside, he's showing us that we can explore why we're doing what we're doing, what the many possible conflicting reasons are, especially in the moments when things aren't going the way they're supposed to. And so that's another element of Trickster. And let me see if we're right time for this. The other thing that happens is I wanted to talk about in medicine ceremonies. Have things, and I'm guessing for you guys, things have come up in medicine ceremonies that were not what you were expecting. I've got my intention. I'm going in to work on this thing. And the medicine comes in and says, nah, it's over here. And how many people have said, no, that's not where, no, this is the thing I'm working on here. Anybody have experiences with that you want to share?
Yeah, that was like my whole first ceremony with ayahuasca. So it was a lot of fun. I had a Kundalini awakening and I was not expecting that. Yeah, so it was definitely, it was a big one. And it was, I could feel like the trickster energy because there was a shift in the energy too, from the medicine itself, like to something else. So yeah, it was interesting.
So I want to name one of the things, and I'm not sure if you're referencing this directly, Chrissy, but in cultures with a living relationship with Trickster, Trickster is the gateway to the wider spirit world. He is the doorway. So he's frequently, like Exu in Brazil is the guardian of doorways and crossroads. And a part of going into the deeper, wider spirit world is negotiating that with him as a guardian. And he frequently, that's his MO. We think we're heading straight. Nope, we're going this way. And then the question is, can we surrender into it, or are we going to resist because of our own agenda? So I want to open up. Anybody else have that experience? I'm going into this ceremony. I'm going to work on this thing, and I'm going to go and I'm going to resolve it, and I'm going to work through it. And then anything?
Well, I thought it was the proper of ceremonies, like when you start with an intention, like it brings you somewhere else, but it's just maybe like a few months, weeks or months afterwards that you can make the link properly.
So the thing that you're working on is frequently what comes up, but you don't maybe recognize it until much later. Yeah, very true. Jillian.
Yeah, I can talk about it from a context even outside of ceremony.
Sure.
The sense that, like, I've been in this place for about 2 years of looking for a job, and like this calling that I have that I'm really afraid to go into has been slowly revealing itself to me. And there is for me, the way that Trickster has showed up is that I don't have to feel this fear or go into this discomfort if I keep trying to look for a job elsewhere. But the surrendering of this calling and moving into this thing that scares me is really where the medicine is calling me to go. And it's this place right now I'm really having to face and wrestle with to begin to renegotiate the contracts I have with SU to keep me from feeling the pain and the fear that I have around this choice.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Jillian. So in my place up here, Spirit House, where Chrissy, we work with the Kundalini as our, definitely work with it. We talk about Eshu or Trickster as both the agent of surrender and the agent of distraction. And a part of these old gods, not the newer gods, but the older gods, is they hold both polarities of whatever it is that their domain is. So Ganesh is a Hindu deity, and he is the remover of obstacles. He's also puts them in our path. So in this sense, Trickster is both the agent of surrender and the opening of the doorway and the closing of the doorway, and holds all of our contracts, like Jillian mentioned here. We make agreements with Trickster on how and when we are going to go through the door or keep the door closed. And one thing that's really important to remember, especially with Trickster, with these bigger forces, Trickster knows us and our games better than we do. And he is our capacity for self-deception. And if we want to hide things from ourselves, we can keep playing that game and playing that game. And every now and then, Trickster will say, hey, do you want to take a look at this? And he'll know if our answer is no. And he'll say, yeah, let's not go in there just yet. Do you want to circle around here for a little bit? Sure. Okay, we can do that. We can circle around and play these games with ourselves. And so within this context, Trickster, who seems like he is toying with us or playing with us or distracting us or agents of chaos or all of this, is also our agent, our guide into authenticity and honesty. Real rigorous honesty with ourselves. If we choose that relationship with him. But anybody have any thoughts about that? Feelings? Anything?
Can you hear me?
Yes. Who is that?
Hi, this is Lisa.
Hi.
So I've done multiple medicines, everything, and I actually sauntered in thinking I was getting over my divorce from my narcissist ex-husband, like trying to heal that, and the medicine's like, oh, honey, we've got bigger fish to fry, and brought up like major traumas from my childhood that I still don't remember, but the medicine keeps showing me, so I believe it. But how do I heal something I don't remember? Like there's Trickster and stuff, but how do you, like, I still don't remember. So how do you get there?
How do you get where?
Like, because it keeps coming up and doing things, and and I can see kind of a Trickster and stuff, but it's like, if I don't remember, how do I heal that?
Let me so again, so what I'm going to try to do here is talk about the context or the box that your question comes from, and then
Okay.
just explore outside of that box. So
Okay.
I don't know if this is what you're saying, but for most people, our grasp on what's real or what we know comes from a linear and rational mindset of
Okay.
I need to remember that this thing happened in order for it to be true. And
I don't feel that way, but
okay.
I can't seem to get beyond the darkness, because I feel like I don't know what I'm doing. You're like, it keeps coming up in different ways, but I don't know.
What does get beyond the darkness mean?
I mean, I literally have like demons and stuff flying at me, and there's no storyline or anything. It's just darkness.
Okay.
And I can't seem to spin out of that,
So within this overall thing here, the demons are coming at me and I need to get out of it.
Yeah, how do you like, I know it's showing me my darkness, but how do you switch out of that?
How do you switch out of feeling
The
the
dark,
darkness?
yeah, like because I don't remember anything, and then the darkness keeps coming to me, and I don't know what to do with it. And I don't know if that's like a trickster. I don't know if it's like trying to beat me down.
Sure. Let me. This is a big topic, so
Okay,
I'm
I'm
going to
sorry.
try to illustrate Trickster in some of this. Let me.
Okay.
The demons keep coming at you. What are demons?
I mean, just like crazy looking dark entities just flying at me and biting at me, and there's no storyline or anything.
And how do you react to them?
Well, I mean, I was terrified at the beginning, and then I got annoyed, and now I kind of laugh at them because I'm like, here you are again.
So one of these things in terms of breaking out of this Christian construct, we have an old Christian construct in our brain of angels on one side that are good, demons on the other side that are bad.
Yeah.
And one of the things that Trickster does is shows us that a lot of times what we perceive as demons are angels in disguise. And if we
Hmm.
could change our relationship or change our expectations around how things are supposed to show up, how things are supposed to go,
Hmm.
that they just change. And that's this aspect of surrender that I was talking
Okay.
about earlier. That surrendering to what is, that this darkness is here. When we don't try to change it, paradoxically, that's when things change.
Okay.
And this is this
Okay.
tension, surrender and resistance. And it doesn't mean we don't have agency, but we're surrendering into the greater flow of what's happening.
It's funny because I feel like I am surrendering to it because but I don't know why it won't shift or anything. It's just the
Why does
same.
it need to shift?
Well, I mean, all I do is sit there and watch things flying at me. There's no
Ah,
storyline, no nothing. So I'm like, what am I learning from this?
hmm. So this is a little bit tricky. I don't want to necessarily, this is like a bigger exploration that you might want to talk
Yeah.
to the facilitators about.
Okay.
But I do want to say that demons, again, going back to even this idea of demons, the demons that we have in our bodies are usually suppressed old gods. What happened was when Christianity came around, it just spread. It went to all these places that people had living relationships with deities and spiritual forces and just said all of those are demons. They're all just demons now. And Jesus is
Huh.
good. And those forces then became tied up and suppressed and implanted in our body.
Wow.
And this is all related to Trickster becoming the devil and really strict, rigid, good and bad, selfish, selfless, all of these different patterns that then just show up in our body. So I know these are big topics, but these are really big. And a lot of this stuff we are going to explore within the course. And it's hard to really get into all that stuff. Let me see. Hold on. Let me see.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, the memory doesn't matter. You can still hear through the sensations in the body. Yes.
Hmm.
Is that the knots? Okay, so yeah, Carol said, is that the knots we're trying to move? I was working with Carol at a retreat, and yes, in our body, the way that Trickster shows up, without getting into a whole philosophical thing, is a rigidity, is a tightness. And sometimes that's like how we hold our body. It's a way of holding things in as a way of trying to control them. If we keep this in, if we control our behavior, if we control systems, if we control this and that, there's usually a sense of safety from that. So within our bodies, within our relationships, these aspects of control are games that people learn from Trickster on controlling things to feel safe. And so one of the things we're going to talk about is how safety can show up in other ways. But again, these are huge topics. Huge topics. And I want to talk about one other thing too, around why and how within psychedelic culture, which in the 60s, when we had this psychedelic movement all over the world, there was Trickster things happening all over the place. We had Ken Kesey. I don't know if anybody knows Ken Kesey and the Merry Pranksters. They painted the first Dago bus, drove it across the country, high on LSD. It was really intricately connected with the anti-war movement, with women's rights, with civil rights. What people were doing was engaging with Trickster to explore the systems in society that had gotten corrupt, that had gotten stagnant. And one of the things that happened, especially with psychedelics, was there was a big outpouring of people questioning everything. Vietnam War, everything was on the table. And unfortunately, what happened is people stopped believing in anything. People went fully into this trickster, almost like nothing matters. It turned into just sex and drugs and hedonism, and nothing wrong with sex and drugs, but it turned into just a lack of any. People just followed that path and tore down everything, and then really didn't build anything up in its place. And one of the things that happened too was psychedelics and the psychedelic movement was so connected with this anti-authoritarian, tear down the government, tear down these structures, that I think that's one of the reasons why they became illegal in the 1960s, 1970s. And then we had a dark age of psychedelics. And we have now recently come into another psychedelic golden age, but without that trickster questioning of things that was so inherent to this 1960s counterculture. And I think that's done on purpose because the people who realize, hey, if we're going to get these psychedelics illegal, we're going to focus on trauma, we're going to focus on all mental health and all of that. We're going to make sure that the people questioning the government or questioning society's rules, we got to kind of leave that to the side because that's threatening the powers that be. But I just want to say that a lot of this trickster stuff it's not available within a lot of communities, and I think there's a reason why. Okay, just threw a lot out there. Does anybody have any questions or thoughts on anything that's come up? I'm not going to put anybody in the spot again. I did my little game. I just want to say too that thinking outside of the box, or even understanding what the box is, the box meaning the roles we've inherited, the rules that we follow, sometimes unthinkingly, the ideas that we have about ourselves, about how we're supposed to act. Trickster really gets us to question all of those things. And whether it's within relationships, whether it's in your psychedelic circles, what I'm going to encourage you guys to do is to explore, to ask yourself, what are the rules here? What are the agreements of behavior, of things I'm supposed to say, of why I'm supposed to say the things I'm supposed to say? What am I hiding or not revealing, and why? And not as a way of totally smashing every system, but as a way of making the system healthier and more vibrant and more authentic. And is what I do a lot here in my place here in Portland is people a lot of times get into relationships and they don't quite know why. And then when you take psychedelics, you take these things, you start blasting these doors open, and all of a sudden these truths emerge. And those truths can be hard to integrate, especially if they've been shut down for a while. And so sometimes we need to slow down and really explore some of those decisions we made or some of those identities that we have trapped up. And within that too is within psychedelic circles is what are the structures here? What are the hierarchies? And why are those hierarchies there? And what are the contracts? What are the relationships? Is there space for things that don't fit within the structure? And is the facilitator making space for those, or maybe not? And maybe there are good reasons why. But I think leaving you guys with those questions around what the rules are, why we're following them. Again, not as a way of destroying everything for the sake of destruction, but really being honest with ourselves and integrity about the systems, the people, and why we're doing what we're doing. Any thoughts about any of this? Yes, Caroline.
Yeah, I have thoughts because it's something that I've been thinking about like for quite a while now about the rules, but I feel that like it's good to like have the trickster energy that I think that like that we can question things, but at the same time I think that what we often underestimate, like not necessarily in the discourse when we talk about those things, but just for ourselves, it's just the fear that we have of or the sense of insecurity that comes to us because like from every rule that is broken, formal and informal, there are sanctions that comes with it and with the different levels of sanctions. Sometimes those sanctions can be to be literally unloved by the people who thought they would love us the way we are, but when we show who we are, and I feel that those things are, I understand that they show us like more authenticity, but sometimes we shouldn't underestimate like the fear that comes with giving up those relationships because the fear can be so visceral that you prefer to stay in something that is not satisfying for you instead of just going through something that your whole nervous system is just wants to reject, but also because you cannot see what's behind the fear or how, like if you're going to have the tools. And I feel that we're not living in a society that allows to think that we're like when we face those things we have all the power to be able like to get there. So it's to get behind the fear. So I feel that sometimes it can like the distress that can come with it, it's so big that like it can be like a mental crisis or I don't know, like existential, any kind of crisis that you can name, like it has this name. So yeah, so I feel that for me this is like the most challenging thing that I had to face. And yeah, but once you understand, like you can go behind it, like it's good because like you get to learn or love the trickster energy, but it comes to a cost.
That is 100% true in every trickster story throughout. The trickster a lot of times ends up paying. And so you're totally right. I'll share one story about that. You guys know Loki? Loki from the Norse tradition. So there's a story that so Loki's blood brother was Odin, who was the king of the gods. And Odin made a vow that he'd always invite Loki to his table when they were drinking. But for some reason, Odin didn't want to invite. He invited all the gods over. He's like, I don't want to deal with Loki tonight. I don't want to deal with him. So they had a big party. They had a big feast. They didn't invite Loki, and Loki heard about it, and he got pissed off. And so he went up to the feast, and what he did was he called everybody out on their bullshit. All the gods said, "You're cheating on your husband," and he just named everything that was happening under the surface that everybody was doing that they wanted to keep hidden. And he pissed off all of the gods. And so the gods took him, they disemboweled him, they cut out his intestines, and they hung him by his intestines over this pit. And every time his drop of blood would fall to the floor, it was like an earthquake. So our earthquakes are Loki's blood dropping to the floor. And it caused this intense pain, chaos for Loki that he had to endure. But the end of the tradition is when Ragnarok comes, which is the end of the universe, Loki will get free and unite with the giants for the epic battle of Loki and the giants versus the Aesir, versus the Norse gods. And that's the end of the world. And I don't think we have to follow, hopefully, Loki's path, but there is a place for it. And I think a part of the story is if we don't invite Trickster to the party, he will fuck it up. He will cause a problem. So let's invite him into the party, give him a space, give him his drink, let him come hang out and make some peace and recognition and allowing that he's there. Or else he's going to call us all out on our bullshit in ways that are really painful. Okay. I got one more trickster story that that I wanted to share with you guys. So a lot of in the old days can talk about these things, but story is how a lot of these things are passed down. So one of my main teachers is Brazilian. He's part of this tradition called Candomblé, and he's a capoeira teacher, and I trained capoeira with him for years, which is this martial art from Brazil. And so that's where I really learned Eshu, their trickster god. And one of the stories of Eshu is in the old days, humans and the gods had this very dynamic relationship. So all of our ancestors at one point uh, were feeding gods through ritual and ceremony, and the gods would talk to us and guide us, and they were ancestors, and we were a little more in harmony with Earth and with those spiritual forces. And at one point, these gods, and they're called Orisha, they recognized something new coming in humanity, and they didn't know what it was. And it's described as evil or sin or separation or whatever we can call it, the ways in which humans have lost track of harmony with nature or harmony with ourselves. So there's this evil that starts to come into humanity, and the gods, the Orisha, they don't know what to do. They're confused because they're so far beyond all that stuff. We don't know how to help them. We're not sure what to do. But what we need one of us to go down to earth and become half human. And so in that way, become a bridge between us and the humans. And to do that, to take on some of this human capacity for delusion or human capacity for sin or separation or whatever that is. So Eshu volunteered. And so he is the bridge. And in Brazil, they do these oracle readings with these shells. You go and you ask questions to the gods, and they give you these answers. And what I like about this system is the priest is talking to the gods, but through the intermediary of Eshu, through the trickster. And so there's a recognition that whatever insights, spiritual insights or healing, and this applies to medicine work for sure, whatever it is that comes to us from these spirit realms, it always got a little flavor of trickster, just a little taste. And so even within their system, and I think for those of us in our culture, we tend to be really hyper focused on this is my download, this is my truth. And I think if we have a little sense of, okay, hold on, but there's going to be a little spin of my humanness within this, a little way in which I might, because of this trickster nature of all of this stuff, it might just be a little bit off. And let me recognize I have my human fallibility or my human desire to see things or interpret things in a certain way that might be putting a little spin on this. And so it really gets us to question, okay, how might this be there? And this insight is there, it's coming through. But how is Trickster coming through in every interface? All right. Thoughts, questions? Anybody have any final anything?
I did want to comment on what you said about inviting the trickster, because if you don't, he's gonna come and just do what the trickster does. And I think that's super profound, and in the simplest of ways, right? Profound things are simple, because it's true. Like whether you're sitting with medicine or dealing with trickster energy out in the world or dealing with it, however you're dealing with it, if you don't embrace it and invite it to the party, it's there anyway. So I just really loved that you said that. It really made me chuckle inside, because it's so true, just in so many facets. Just invite the trickster to the party, show him some love, and things kind of shift in that way. So I just wanted to comment on that. Thank you.
Yes, I hope we can all invite a little Trickster in, for sure. Laugh. He also let's laugh at ourselves a little bit in these trying times when everything's serious, and it is, and there's a lot of horrific things. If we can maybe not take that, maybe take ourselves a little less seriously, have a little fun. Okay, anybody else? Wait, is that Chrissy? Are you talking? You're muted.
There we go. I'm not very good with this thing yet. So I was going to say, the more you're talking about the trickster energy, the more I can see, like, how I've probably worked with that energy through my whole life, even before I started working with plant medicines. Just being somebody that always questions things and questions myself, and it frustrates people. So it's kind of like I can see why there was the draw for me to be here or have an interest, because I think it's something that I've already been working with for a long time. So I think it's really cool.
Yeah. Have you pissed people off with your questions?
Oh, all the time.
Welcome to Trickster. All right.
Yeah, all the time.
All right. Anybody else? All right. Well, yes, I do have a course coming up. I love Trickster. I love Kundalini. I love psychedelics. This course is, especially for Trickster, it's one of my favorite topics. There's so much to explore. There's going to be a lot of active participation because we can't just talk about these things. We have to really explore how we're interacting with him. So I just wanted to share that. It's coming up. If anybody has any questions about it, you can email me, I think through the PMP website. But I also think this is really important. I think Trickster is understanding him and understanding how he works and like Valerie was saying, like really like, okay, how do we invite him in so he doesn't fuck up our party? Is an ongoing dialogue between structure that we need, rules and obligations, and space to have a little chaos. And there's a dynamic between those. And I really think that's something that's missing in a lot of psychedelic circles, and a real honoring of that and how to work with that. And so it means a lot to me. It's really in my heart. So any questions or thoughts, you can email me. And I really appreciate you guys being here. Thanks for letting me put you on the spot to make a little point and get you all pissed off. Do you see that, Chrissy? People getting pissed off at me.
Justin,
So,
can I ask you a final question?
yeah.
Hi, it's Tate.
Hey, Tate, how's it going?
Hi. That's so great that you said active participation rather than just talking about, because I was on the tip of my tongue to ask you about that. And I would love to hear if you can elaborate more on what active participation looks like.
Oh, with Trickster?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, let me see in I mean there's like a million ways. Um I think the best way is uh I'll give you one example. I don't know why this is coming to mind. There was a group of tricksters called the Yes Men. I don't know if anybody's heard of them. Years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. And they were protesting against the World Trade Organization. They were trying to highlight some of the inequality, and they were really trying to make a point that the WTA was not helpful. This is the kind of like 20 years ago stuff, that these big financial institutions were screwing over poor parts of the world. One of the things they did was they set up their own website that looked like the World Trade Organization website. And they got invited to speak at a conference by people who thought they were World Trade Organization representatives. So they gave a talk and they recorded it to highlight how ridiculous the whole thing was. And one of the things they did was they had a whole talk on how to measure the financial gains from wars. And they were saying things like the U.S. Civil War was America's least profitable war. And they had this whole, you look at the audience, they're recording it. Nobody in the audience is batting an eye. Oh, okay. They're making a point that the whole thing is so ridiculous. And they were making points that the U.S. shouldn't have fought it because it wasn't profitable, and there were much better ways, much better wars to be had. And they had somebody in the back of the audience just panning around and just showing people not thinking about what they're saying, not thinking about, wait a minute, what this is preposterous. How is the World Trade Organization actually have a list of wars and their profitability? It's ridiculous. So they're trying to make this bigger point by poking at these institutions of what is really going on under the surface. And there's a million ways we can do that today. I mean, with our culture. And this is why I started with, hey, what's my reason for doing this? Because I have a selfish reason for this. And what a lot of institutions or groups do is promote just this top level face to the world. And what Trickster says is, well, what's under the surface there? What's actually going on under the surface? And like Chrissy was saying, you start doing that and you will piss people off. And tricksters get in trouble. So I would recommend going slow. If you're going to take on big institutions with your trickster, don't blame me. It's not my, but it is an important thing. It really is important to highlight the under the surface. And the trickster is like, wait a minute, what is this thing under the surface that nobody's talking about? And I want to leave it at that before giving anybody any big ideas. Okay. Anything else?
I
All
could
right,
say that
guys.
you didn't really answer my question, but that would be, throwing a
Oh, wait, did I
throwing
not answer
a
your question?
no.
Oh, sorry. What was your question? Oh, what are some things you can
What?
do?
How does active participation look
It
in the
means
course?
in the what?
In the course, you said there's going to be
Oh,
active
in the course. Oh, in the
participation.
course.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you meant in everyday life. In the course, what it will be is you will have homework around exploring your hidden agendas or other people's hidden agendas and really engaging with them in ways that might be uncomfortable.
Mm. Is there any active participation in the interaction? Like, I think there's a lot of potential in what you did just at the start of this meeting,
Yeah.
where you called people out on, well, what did you not say? So like, is there anything that actually happens in real time in
Oh,
the
yeah.
course?
Yes, we have to. So in my classes here at Spirit House, we have to get under the polite surface, and that will happen in the course. And in my classes here, we do that all the time. And how fast or slow that goes is we have to explore each person's in the moment. Like who was mentioning, it's a little bit scary to say that. Can I say it? And so everybody's going to have to navigate their own way of how much do I want to go into, how little, and giving people space to take a little time to get into some of the things they might feel uncomfortable talking about. But within the course, yeah, we'll be doing that in the course. But we have to gauge each person's willingness or ability and so hopefully we can understand each person's going to be different. Each person's going to have a different capacity. Sometimes in the classes here, people get really upset. Hey, why aren't you and we have to explore, wait a minute, it's not my thing to push somebody into something they're uncomfortable with. And it's really complicated doing this in real time. But this is going to be a part of the course for sure.
That's the fun part.
Yes. And then hopefully you can take that out and understand how to dance with that out in the real world. And then how to dance with that when the spirits come at you in medicine ceremonies. Ooh, okay, this is opening me up. How do I engage with this and open it up where it feels okay? Maybe I'm not. It's the same process. Medicine ceremonies out in the world, the tension of opening up and holding back and exploring that. Okay? Sound good? Oh, thank you, Carol. Good to see you again. All right, guys. Appreciate you all being here. Shoot me an email if you have any more questions or you're mad at me. Let's hear what you're mad about. What I did to piss you off. It'd be great. All right, guys. Thank you all.